Greetings. It has been an eventful 12th day of July in various parts of the country, with running battles witnessed between police and protesters, with the tears and gas being the order of the day. We have all that and more just for you. But first, to topics.
Tonight,
early this morning, our crew, who had been sent to set up the stage at Kamkunji, were attacked and their equipment damaged.
at least 5 dead, scores injured and millions lost as maandamano turns deadly in parts of Kenya. Also tonight, Kenya, a working nation today, as PSV drivers strike over high fuel costs and proposed stricter traffic rules. The suddenly idle drivers playing children's games to pass the time.
Lazima license yako ikiisha, ati lazima uende kwa ukienda cyber, ati lazima uende shule. Sasa hiyo mambo yote imetufinyiria sana.
Plus, the horror of Shakahola continues as 12 more bodies exhumed today, bringing the macabre total to 372.
Welcome to the bulletin. Catherine Simolo is on the sign language interpretation. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyeringita. You can always talk to us on our socials below your screens. Now, tonight, 3 people are reported dead and several others injured after police engaged opposition supporters in running battles in the nation's capital and its environs on a day marred by chaos and destruction of property in Azimio's deadly protests yet. Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga has blamed Kenya Kwanza for planting goons among peaceful protesters, calling off a planned rally at the Kamukunji grounds in Nairobi to prevent further injuries. But as Apollo Kamau reports, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has blamed Odinga for today's violence while warning of arrests.
Nairobi's Kamukunji grounds was a no-go zone as youths engaged police in running battles, throwing stones at anti-riot police and burning tires on the road, while police hit back with water cannons and tear gas. The back-and-forth clash leaves a trail of blood, not just in Kamukunji, but in Mathare, Kibra, Mombasa Road, all the way to Mulolongo and the expressway. 3 people losing their lives in Mulolongo, 3 injured in Mathare due to gunshot wounds, and 1 injured at Kamukunji. Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga, who cancelled a rally at the chaotic Kamukunji grounds, blaming Kenya Kwanza for allegedly planting goons who allegedly enjoyed police protection.
Late last night, we received intelligence of a most heinous plan by Kenya Kwanza to ferry armed goons who would attack peaceful attendees of our rally in Kamukunji. These goons had expressed orders to shoot directly into the crowd while enjoying police protection.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki, in a statement Wednesday evening, accused Odinga and his allies of instigating what he called a day of malicious violence that saw deaths and widespread destruction and looting of property. Kindiki, revealing that police officers were also injured in Wednesday's chaotic demos, said the government has mobilized all law enforcement agencies to arrest those who planned and funded the chaos.
Armed goons have this afternoon descended on Kamukunji grounds and shot indiscriminately into the crowd. Police have used water cannons to disperse those peaceably assembled there. In order to protect our people and avert more injury and loss of lives, we have taken the strategic decision not to proceed with the rally at Kamukunji grounds this afternoon.
Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport Kipchumba Murkomen condemned acts of vandalism and destruction of infrastructure and asked the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to arrest the suspects caught on TV and CCTV. Odinga says the demos will continue until President Ruto repeals the Finance Act and agrees for joint talks on the reconstitution of the new IEBC team. Odinga is set to announce a new date for the protest soon.
Unlike in Friday's protest, Nairobi Central Business District was a no-go zone for Azimio leaders and their supporters, with police high on guard. Apol Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Thank you, Apol Kamau. Now, the transport operators have today been paralyzed in some parts of the country, following a strike by PSV operators over high fuel costs and a new following what they say is the high cost of petrol. Drivers have also been dissatisfied with the new law proposed by the Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen, saying it is intended to oppress them more and therefore asking him to leave the office for failure to perform his duties. Reporter Daniel Kihoro with the details.
Matatu operators in the country are now on strike over what they say is the increase in cost of fuel and the high cost of living.
Mafuta imepanda bei sana. Ukiangalia kwa muda wa miezi 6, mafuta lita moja diesel imepanda na shilingi 75.
In Nyeri County, the drivers had a peaceful demonstration while complaining of the operation by the new law proposed by Kipchumba Murkomen that all public service vehicle PSV and the school buses to be fitted with the dash cameras and GPS trackers to help in tame numbers of road accidents in the nation.
Tumefinyiriwa ati lazima license yako ikiisha ati lazima ukienda cyber ati lazima uende shule. Sasa hiyo mambo yote imetufinyiria sana.
Tuliweka kitu kinaitwa governor. Hiyo ndio tunatambua kwa serikali. Sababu hiyo governor inapimiwa, hakuna mahali haitapimiwa. Ukiwa highway, ukiwa wapi inaonekana.
Tunamwambia huyo jamaa anaitwa Murkomen. Tunamwambia mambo hiyo yote tunakataa. Kwanza atuonyeshe dereva wake mwenyewe akiwa shule kwa NTSA.
In Bungoma and Kiambu County, the statement was the same. Here, the drivers appear to regret the decision they made during the last election.
Aliingia katika usukani kwa hii serikali, akilia machozi akitoka kwa kanisa, tukakuwa na huruma tumpatie huyu mtu votes zetu. Hatukujua tunajitongea bwana.
Mahali penye kunafanyika ajali nyingi, utakuta ya kwamba hiyo barabara haina signpost, road signs kuonyesha hapa ni slip road, hapa kuna kona.
Same script but different cast in Kakamega and Uasin Gishu County as drivers call for sanity in transportation sector.
Unajua waziri sikukaa ofisini. Tembea kama vile Ruto anajua bei ya mahindi. Waziri anakaa ofisini kusoma magazeti.
Unataka kutuletea pikipiki za stima. Sisi hatutaki vitu ya stima. Punguza mafuta ndio tufanye kazi.
Mafuta ikiongeza inaongeza kila kitu. Hata mboga sokoni, hata kila kitu kinaongeza. Sisi hatuna pesa. Pesa ile tunapata kidogo kidogo unashughulikia watoto.
Daniel Kihoro reporting for TV47 Nairobi.
Right, let's focus on County 032 here. And with the Azimio anti-government protest held today in some parts of the country, Nakuru County for the first time under the regime of President William Ruto felt the heat of demonstrations in some parts of the country, an issue that elicited reactions as many have condemned the action. Our very own Chichi Josephine with the details.
For months, parts of the country have experienced Azimio anti-government protests known as Mandamano, but not Nakuru. Not yet until now. Today, however, the streets of Nakuru were witness to demonstrations.
Ghadhabu yangu, sufuria yangu yenyewe hata siku hizi unga imepanda bei, hata sufuria hadi saizi inatoboka. Umeona? Sasa mimi naomba bei ya unga iteremke.
This new experience has triggered the Nakuru business community, led by their chairman Mr. Muli Stephen, to strongly condemn the actions witnessed during demonstrations in Nakuru, which saw serious destruction of property.
Hiyo maandamano ya leo haikuwa maandamano. Ilikuwa mambo ya kuweza kupora watu, kuiba, kufunja manduka, kuchoma mali ya watu.
Tunalia kwa sababu kadhaa watu wameshadungwa visu. Maana hawa hawakuchunguza na intelligence yao kujua ni nani wanaandamana. Na wamevunja maduka ya watu. Tayari wameanza kuingiza watu kwa hasara kitu ambacho mtu anajaribu kujimudu. We are condemning that.
The business community at the same time asserting that the protesters did not appear to be locals and looked to be hired guns ferried from other parts of the country.
Na hapa Nakuru tunajua kuko na watu ambao waliletwe. Na tunajua wale viongozi ambao waliwalete. Na kile kitendo ambao kimefanyika hapa kwa mji wetu wa Nakuru, tunataka kulaani tukiwa na uchungu mwingi sana.
Hakika tumeweza kustuliwa sana wakati tumeona kwamba vijana wakiwa wamebebwa na manisan, wengine na mapickup wakiangushwa katika maeneo ya Kaptembwa, katika maeneo ya huko Shabab. Na hao ni vijana ambao hata hawakuwa wanajua barabara zinaelekea upande gani, wakaanza kuchoma matairi kwa barabara.
The business community chair calling on President William Ruto to ensure that stern legal action is taken against Azimio leader Raila Odinga for death and destruction of property witnessed during maandamano.
Raila ashikwe, awekwe ndani. Akiwekwa ndani hakuna kitu itaharibika. Raila ni mwana Kenya kama yule mtu mwingine yote. Akiingizwa kwa gereza, Raila mambo itapoa. Kabla ya kufikiria mambo ya maandamano, fikiria the repercussions ambazo hayo maandamano yanaleta.
Tafadhali Rais wetu William Ruto, wewe uko na sword ambao ulipatiwa na Wakenya, uweze kulinda Kenya.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
And as Nakuru experienced the heat of demos for the first time, some counties and regions in the country did not participate in the Azimio protests. These areas were peaceful, with the businesses continuing as usual, unlike the chaotic protests experienced across the country. However, residents in these areas have called on the government to give a listening ear to the opposition and lower the cost of living.
Unlike the rowdy scenes seen in Nairobi, running battles, tear gas canisters lobbed, and tensed scenes witnessed today, some regions in the country experienced relative peace and businesses continued as usual. This is Lodwar, with little to no police presence. Residents here went by their day-to-day activities with no inkling of the drama playing out elsewhere.
Sisi tumekubaliana, tumesema ya kwamba maandamano hakuna, wacha tufanye kazi.
Ule mtu mwenye alichaguliwa kwa haki. Kama anasikia watu, asikie kilio ya watu. Afunguze gharama ya maisha.
In Kapsabet, Nandi County, the situation was calm. However, PSV drivers had to halt their services as the Kisumu-Kericho border experienced protesters who barricaded some parts of the road.
Abiria walipotea sababu wanaweza fika barabara warudi ama gari ipakiwe.
Siku ya leo mambo imeharibika. Na tunaona ikiendelea hivi mambo itaharibika zaidi.
In Baringo County, residents also shunned the opposition's call to protest.
Baringo tuko na shida mingi. Ya kwanza tuko na njaa, tuko na insecurity. So tunaona maandamano ni mzigo mingi kwetu.
Even as some of the counties did not participate in the protest, the locals still called on the government to lower the cost of living.
Maandamano ikiendelea, uchumi ya Kenya inaharibika. So naomba musikisane, Raila usitumiwe na watu wengine. Tafuta nafasi muende muongee na rais.
Leaders from some areas that did not experience the Azimio protests strongly condemned the ongoing protests, saying they are crippling economic growth.
But now let us look at the whole impact that this maandamano really had in the country. Businesses were disrupted in major towns across the country as Azimio la Umoja supporters engaged police in running battles for the better part of Wednesday. At least one person was reported dead in Emali town after they were allegedly shot by a police officer. Tens of others were arrested in Mombasa town, while 100 others are nursing injuries in various towns across the country. Andrin Kilemi paints us this picture.
The business community bore the brunt of Wednesday's protest as businesses in most towns remained shut for the better part of the day. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya supporters engaged police officers in running battles as they protested the high cost of living.
Nimesema iko juu kuliko sufuria, bei ya unga itasuka lini? Sabuni iko na bei kali kuliko karai ili wanaogea mwaka mzima.
Lakini tuko na message moja
kwa William Samoei Ruto wakiwa na Rigathi Gachagua, tunataka kuambia hivi ya kwamba kama punda amechoka, amechoka. Na kama unga haitashuka, tunaenda kwa barabara usiku mchana until unga ishuke.
At least one person was reported dead in Emali town after they were allegedly shot by police officers. 18 others were arrested in Mombasa County during the protests, while several others sustained injuries. Azimio leaders including Martha Karua and Kalonzo Musyoka, who led the protests in Meru and Wote towns respectively, condemned the police for using excessive force on citizens.
We thought Wote was going to be even more peaceful. But on the contrary, the police decided to use excessive force. And we realized this excessive force has been used everywhere today. We cannot have a country where men and women bearing arms use them against innocent citizens.
It's a very sad day, and I wonder why the Ruto illegitimate regime is afraid of people of Kenya talking to one another. We will be back. We will not agree to be barred from associating.
Business relying on the transport network was paralyzed in the Nairobi-Nakuru highway and the Embu-Mwea highway as public service operators grounded their vehicles.
Huwa mara mingi asubuhi tunasafirisha watu kutoka makwao tukiwaleta stage wakienda Nairobi town kazi, lakini leo kusema ukweli kazi imekuwa chini kabisa. Watu hawajatokea kuenda kazi, hatujafanya kazi asubuhi. Magari hata za kuenda Nairobi hakuna.
Most traders in Mombasa, Kirinyaga and Meru counties kept off their premises as a precaution against losing their property. All eyes now on the government for a response to the grim state of affairs. Andrine Kilemi, TV 47.
And as Azimio One Kenya coalition anti-government demonstrations continued across the country, property was destroyed and to some extent loss of lives. The government has, as a result, termed the incidents as culture of impunity, mobilizing all the law enforcement agencies of the state to conclude investigations urgently and proceed to arrest and prosecute of all those involved in the planning and execution of the crimes committed Wednesday. Interior Science Kithure Kindiki has warned that those who took part, directly or indirectly, shall be punished. Mike Kagongo with the details.
Good morning. After running battles between the police and angered Kenyans in some parts of the country, the government has condemned the act, blaming Azimio leader Raila Odinga for wanton looting and destruction of property. In his Wednesday evening statement, Kindiki said all those who took part directly or indirectly in what he termed as a well-orchestrated violation of public safety and insecurity will be punished. Kindiki says the government has mobilized all the law enforcement agencies of the state and the institutions of criminal justice system to conclude investigations urgently and proceed to the arrest and prosecution of all those involved in the planning and execution of crimes committed, including those who funded or otherwise aided or abated the offenders. Odinga has been at loggerheads with President Ruto's administration since its inauguration in order to put pressure on the Kenya Kwanza government over what he described as its purposeful implementation of policies intended to harm Kenyans. Odinga called for demonstrations on Wednesday. However, Kindiki blamed the former Prime Minister and his lieutenants for all the violent crimes, thefts, and destruction of both public and private property during the protests. The CS also acknowledged that some locations registered fatalities during the nationwide protests. He accused Azimio of lying to the police that they will be holding a peaceful political rally at the Kamukonji grounds, only for them to unleash terror on innocent Kenyans, as a result of which lives were lost, scores of law enforcement officers and civilians grievously injured, and unimaginable loss of the country's economy occasioned. Consequently, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi termed Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga as selfish, challenging him to be open to Kenyans over the parameters they are pegging their protest on. Mudavadi said Azimio is only after causing mayhem and to disrupt the Kenya Kwanza's plan of taking the country's economy back on track.
Wanatuelekeza kwa barabara ya unafiki, wanatudanganya kwamba kuna njia nyingine. Sasa wewe ukiuliza Raila hapa, na mimi nimewahi kuwa waziri wa fedha, umuulize Raila hapa sahi, wewe Raila, tupatie mpangilio yako ya kututoa kwa hii shimo. Nakumbuka kwa maandamano yao yote hawajatoa alternative.
Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, in the meanwhile, Nairobi's Central Business District, CBD, was brought to a standstill following the fear of attacks from both the police and the protesters. Most business people did not open the shops, and even areas where many people converge remained deserted, as Paul Kirubi reports.
Nairobi's capital city, where many people converge to carry out their business, remained deserted on the better part of Wednesday. On a typical week, most people converge around this place, famously known as Archives, a favorite meeting place for many. However, today, the area is being marked by police officers to ensure no distractors attempt to disrupt the city's activity. Shops, supermarkets, and even roadside sellers were nowhere to be seen on this day, painting a picture of the clash between politics and business. Sefi Nauma is a conductor from one of the largest slums in the city. She says the high cost of living has terribly affected her standards of living, to the extent her children are suffering.
Tumechoka. Sasa mpaka watoto wanafukuziwa school fee. Mwalimu na utamwambia una pesa, yeye hata amini hiyo. Hata amini. Haya, hii kazi yetu, mimi ni conductor. Hii kazi yetu. Mwenye gari umejua yeye pesa yake anaongojea. Ujioni 2,000.
It remains to be seen if this will be the new normal, as Raila Odinga has promised to continue with the protest, even as the Kenya Kwanza government maintains hardline stance over negotiations with him. Paul Kirubi, TV47, Nairobi.
Let's focus on something else here. In Shakahola forest, death toll hits 372 as 12 more bodies were exhumed from land linked to Paul Mackenzie on Wednesday. Coast Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyancha confirms the numbers, revealing that so far 95 of the bodies have been identified and 37 people have been arrested in connection with the deaths. A school in Kangemi area was tear-gassed today as police engaged in running battles with protesters. A number of students were hospitalized, with irate parents up in arms over the incident, which they say is a repeat offense. Our reporter Zainab Mohammed says more.
Aggrieved mothers of Kihumbuini Primary School students couldn't hold back their emotions after today's incident in which police lobbed a tear gas canister inside one of the classrooms. According to those who witnessed the incident, learning was going on as usual before a cat-and-mouse chase between the police and Azimio protesters led to the incident. The irate mothers who blamed both Azimio leader Raila Odinga and President William Ruto for the incident said their disputes cannot be solved at the expense of the lives of the young ones.
Tuko na watoto kwa shule na wanakuja kuharibu mpaka shule. Tumetoka na hao wote wawili. Watupe na amani. Ni mzazi, nimeenda shughuli yangu napata mtoto wangu ana faidi. Kwa nini? Ruto anatuumiza kwa nini? Anapiga watoto wetu, watoto wanataka watoto waende wapi?
who were taken to Eagles Nursing Home are said to have stabilized, with none being in critical condition. This is not the first time a tear gas has been lobbed inside a school compound in the area since the Azimio protests began. Over a month ago, tear gas was lobbed inside a school in Kawangware area, leading to the hospitalization of 35 students. It is unclear whether the act was deliberate or accidental. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
And thank you, Zainab, for that. And as the probe into the 3.7 billion shillings mosquito net scandal intensifies, former Principal Secretary of Public Health, Dr. Josephine Mburu, the former Kemsa CEO Terry Ramathani, and Treasury PS Chris Kipto on Wednesday appeared before the Senate Health Committee, where more questions arose as to where the letter presented to the then PS Dr. Josephine Mburu originated from and just to who was responsible for the bungled procurement process sponsored by Global Fund. Elizabeth Atieno with the details.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Appearing before Senate Health Committee on Wednesday, former Public Health and Professional Standards Principal Secretary Dr. Josephine Mburu has maintained that she had no authority over the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority Kemsa, and that she received a letter dated the 20th of February 2023 from the Department of Medical Services seeking clarity over inconsistencies in tender specifications.
And I start with my oath, Senator Esther, that I was brought the memo by Mulwa. And they're the ones who discussed with Omal. When you're a PS, you're not a PS of a section. And remember, this is an isolated case when it comes to malaria. In the office, you have so many letters you're signing. So I don't think I just sat one day and decided just to sign a letter. And I'm saying it here, and I'll say it even tomorrow, even after 10 years. The true spirit in me is my witness, that I signed a copy of a letter which was forwarded to me by Mulwa.
However, a twist emerged when former Kemsa CEO Terry Ramathani, who also appeared before the committee, said Kemsa was acting on instructions issued by Dr. Mburu.
That you had forgotten you had written a letter to the PS on a matter of such serious interest.
Chair, I wish to state to this committee that I had absolutely no recollection. As I stated in the previous committee sitting, I knew we had discussions with PS Josephine about the letters sent, the response from Global Fund, but I could not recall writing it. And since, Chair, if you recall, the PS had indicated that I had not communicated in writing, I had no evidence on me to contradict that.
I can see the CEO Kemsa wrote a letter later on 24th, which was received on 28th. And as I said, I had no authority over Kemsa. Number 3, I don't think under normal circumstance, under sober mind, I can sit in my office and start signing letters without going through.
Ramathani further says that she later received instructions from the Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha that she should report to the Department of Medical Services and not the Department of Public Health.
You remember at the time, there was a whole discussion in the ministry as to who I should write to and whom I should not write to. And it is true, the CS did give instructions that I should only communicate with PS2. However, I have not been able to access that particular letter, and it's not the question at hand. That particular letter exists in Kemsa.
Former Kemsa CEO further explained to the Mandago-led committee that the extension of tender closing dates from 23rd to 10th March 2023 was caused by the clash between the Ministry of Health and Global Fund over the specifications of nets.
At that point, I made two decisions. One, to extend the tender timeline, and 2, to write to Global Fund and let Global Fund know that because of this letter that has come from the ministry, and it has come at the 11th hour, we have to extend as you all sit around the table and tell us, what do you want us to buy?
The letter at the end did not say extend. I sought clarity.
Dr. Mulwa and other Kemsa officials were stopped by the Health Committee from presenting their submissions after Kemsa Chairman Irungu Nyakera failed to attend the meeting. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
That story by Elizabeth Atieno takes us to a first short break. You're watching TV 47 and News Tonight. We'll be right back.
You want to advertise your business or product and you are on a budget? Then Marquee Africa is the site for you. To advertise, upload a picture or video clip of your business or product and let the clicks get you clients. Get 4,000 clicks for as low as 1,000 bob. Get the app on the Google Play Store or iOS App Store, or visit the website www.marquee.africa. Terms and conditions apply.
They say
yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
It is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is alive.
Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa, hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori la historia. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutu.
Your health matters and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Venue. Our state-of-the-art facilities are designed to meet all your needs, from large-scale conferences to intimate meetings and everything in between. Located in the heart of Thika, the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center offers stunning views of the city skyline and is easily accessible from all major transportation hubs. Our facility features ample parking, free Wi-Fi, advanced audiovisual equipment, and our technical team is always on hand to ensure your event runs smoothly and seamlessly. Don't take our word for it. Make your next event unforgettable at the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center. Contact us today for bookings and reservations. Email multimedia@mku.ac.ke or call us on 0708 212204 or 0727 441733 or 0721 438 629 to learn more about our services and book your event.
At 32 minutes past the top of the hour, welcome back. This is TV47 News Tonight. And President William Ruto held bilateral talks with his counterpart Ibrahim Raisi of Iran, where the two nations agreed to partner together in areas of agriculture, livestock culture, and heritage, information, ICT, fisheries, housing, urban and metropolitan development that's in a bid to, or rather for in a bid to sustainable growth. Areas of interest for the Kenya Kwanza government was on enhancing its trade volumes with Iran and facilitate the export of more tea, meat and other agricultural products to Iran, which will also act as a key entry point to Central Asian countries. President Ruto reiterating this collaboration will help in delivering the agriculture value chain of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
And through Iran to the Central Asian countries. We have 12 countries in the Central Asian region with a population of almost 300 people. And Kenya believes that's a strategic market for our agricultural exports. Stronger collaboration with Iran is important for us in delivering agricultural value chain of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda. It is also encouraging to note that trade volumes between our two countries have been on a steady upward trajectory. Kenya exported tea worth $28.4 million US, about 4 billion shillings, to Tehran in the first quarter of this year, which is an 8-fold increase from sales for the same period last year. We have increased 8 times our export of tea in the first quarter of this year to Iran. Kenya attaches great significance to the Iranian market, since it is one of the most valued export destinations for our tea. Kenya is also highly encouraged by the great interest shown by Iran in promoting technological and entrepreneurial innovation among Kenyan youth by promoting incubation of Kenya's startups and creative industry through the Iran House Innovation and Technology Center. This is an outstanding intervention that is innovative and directly aligned with our national aspiration towards creating a digital superhighway and a robust digital economy as primary pillars of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
And members of the Ogiek community have called for an active involvement in decision-making processes related to the Mau forest, as they expressed concern that the Ministry of Lands is considering lifting the cave at Mau forest land without consulting or informing the community. Chichi Josephine with that.
Members of the Ogiek community, led by their chairman John Lobolo, expressed concern that the Ministry of Lands is considering lifting the caveat on Mau forest land without consulting or informing the community.
Hii maneno ya kuondoa caveat hatukufurahia kwa sababu inahalalisha vitu mingi. Kuna ugawaji wa shamba ambao ilikuwa imeendelea na ilikuwa ikinyakuliwa tu kinyume cha sheria, na imefanya watu kutoa msoso katika Mau, na hiyo kuondoa hiyo caveat italete msoso.
Hiyo imetupata ni kama mshtuko mkubwa, sababu sisi kama jamii ambao tulisign hiyo caveat tukiwa na sababu fulani. Sababu hiyo ndio imetushikilia.
They said it is crucial to recognize the Ogiek community's custodial role as affirmed by their landmark victory in the African Court on Human and People's Rights.
Kutolewa kwa ile caveat ni kumaanisha kwamba ni kuhalalisha zile titles na zile mambo yote ambayo imeendelea katika msitu wa Mau bila kujali jamii Ogiek ambao walilalamika. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali pia iweze kutusikiza kama Ogiek Councils of Elders.
Tulikuwa tumefika mahali kwa mambo ya implementation. Kwa hivyo hii maneno ambayo kusema tunatoa caveat ni kuturudisha nyuma, na ilhali tena inaweza inakinzana na hilo hali ya hiyo judgment ambayo tumepewa katika kotini.
They observed that the community's profound knowledge, expertise and sustainable land management practices are invaluable assets that should be taken into account when making any decisions that directly affect their lives and territories.
Hatuwezi kuwa na serikali ambayo inaongea mara mbili. Leo inasema hii, kesho inasema hii. kwa sababu hatuwezi sema tuna implement mambo ya judgment at the same time tunaondoa caveat, kwa sababu caveat inaongea against judgment.
The African court ruling acknowledged their ancestral connection and rights to the Mau forest, designating them as its custodians. Chichi Josephine, TV47.
And on a sad note, one person has been killed in Salama, Lamu County in what is suspected to be a terrorist attack that happened in the wee hours of Wednesday morning. Local security personnel have begun investigations into the attack that also saw 5 houses torched.
This was the aftermath of a suspected terrorist attack that happened in the wee hours of Wednesday morning. An attack that has left 1 person killed and 5 houses torched. Confirming the incident, Deputy County Commissioner of Lamu West, Gabriel Kioni, has noted that security personnel have started probing the matter.
Kwa jumla, tumempoteza mtu mmoja, lakini pia kuna nyumba kadhaa ambazo zilipata kuchomwa na zile nyumba hazikuwa na wenyewe ndani. Kuna nyumba kama 5 na ni sehemu ambayo zimeenea zile distances ni sehemu ambazo zimeachana.
This even as one national police reservist has been injured while engaging the attackers who are trying to attack Juhudi Primary School. The school houses refugees who had escaped their homes due to the recent attacks. The attack coming barely 3 weeks after Al-Shabaab assailants killed 5 people in Juhudi and Salama areas that border Somalia.
Ni rafiki yetu, ni mkaaji wetu, ni mkulima mwenzetu, lakini ndiye amepatwa kwa hii nyumba na akafanya kuteketezwa kama mnyama.
Ni vizuri linapoongewa jambo wanafuatilia na wanatekeleza. Usalama weko, kama ni kampu ya KDF iwepo, kama ni kampu ya RDU iweko, GSU iweko, ili usalama uweko. Na tumaini kwamba hilo jambo likifuatiliwa, hili shida itaisha na itaisha milele.
The residents calling on the government to solve the runaway insecurity in the county.
Majirani tuseme kama wanaume ndio tunategemea wawe wakitusimamia kama sisi wa mama wajane, na sasa ni kuuliwa na uliwa, wengine wanachomea manyumba kama.
All right, let's talk business now. And multinational companies are adopting hybrid working arrangements to reduce overall running costs and push the environmental, social, and governance sustainability agenda. Deloitte Kenya says embracing ESG integration in companies will ensure long-term carbon emission reduction and less operational costs, which eventually is a win-win situation for businesses.
We have been practicing, perhaps unconsciously, a lot of the elements that today comprise sustainability. When it comes to, say, simple things like, forced labor and keeping away from it, or putting in place governance structures which guarantee our business resilience, or, some of us, for example, in the financial services sector, courtesy of the partnerships we have with our lenders, had prohibited lists of businesses. So from many years ago,
we are moving from that traditional way of looking at things. We need to report our purpose. What exactly are we doing from a tax perspective? If you look at the government, for example, we also have the fiscal pressure that the government also has. So we have incentives being introduced to support some sort of ESG initiatives. But at the same time, we have taxes that got to be introduced in a short while to actually counter some of the bad behaviors that may counter the effect of what we are looking at from a sustainability perspective.
And global investors will not be deterred by the ongoing protests, and nothing will derail the government's agenda to grow foreign direct investments to $10 billion by the end of this year. This is according to Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, who insists good investors will weather any turmoil if the deal presented is worth their cents. This, as the Kenya Private Sector Alliance estimates damages and losses is costing businesses in the country at least 3 billion shillings a day.
Kenya currently rakes in $500 million per year in foreign direct investment, a dismal number considering the country is globally renowned as the African Silicon Savannah. The ongoing political disruptions and the possibility of the Finance Act has further threatened this, as investors coming into the continent are opting for neighboring countries to wade into new African markets.
The doors are open, your investments are very safe. We now are working on all the relevant protocols and agreements between our two governments to ensure that we can be able to take this relationship forward.
The Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Trade, Investment and Industry, Moses Kuria, has come out to assure the business fraternity that global investors will not be deterred by any protests or mayhem.
For avoidance of doubt, global investors are very resilient nowadays. They're very resilient. They operate in hotspots. They operate in much more harsh environments. The modern day investor know what they are looking for.
Speaking during a strategic meeting with business conglomerates from Saudi Arabia, he insisted that Kenya remains the major gateway for trade coming into the continent, especially from the east.
Focus that will march on. Nothing is going to derail the agenda of the Kenyan government to ensure that we create an environment that is conducive for investment as a growth takeoff. If we do not have investment, how are we going to improve the standards of living of the people? So if we allow ourselves to be sidetracked by any noises that can come out there, that we are not going to achieve our objective. This morning.
And you have capacity to unlock our investment potential. We are looking forward for a constructive investment engagement and investment deal that will take this country to the next economic level.
Furthermore, they insisted the Kenyan trading ground remains conducive and lucrative for foreign investors.
Do not look at Kenya as just Kenya as one country. Look at Kenya as an important gateway.